Hello, everyone. This is Alexis, and I'm in a group called The Girls in my 349 class. This is my presentation on how we set up our WLAN network using the instructions provided to us by Labs 1 through 4. Okay, so before we get into Lab 1, a little background about wireless local area networks is that they provide a wireless network. How they're able to do this is by using an access point, and what an access point does is that it broadcasts signals, usually radio or infrared signals that get broadcasted and then is able to connect to your devices such as your phone, your laptop, etc. Typically, they extend your existing wired local area network, but that doesn't mean that it's always like that. So starting with Lab 1, we had to reset the controller to factory settings so that we could have a clean slate to work with. To do this, we unplugged the controller and plugged it back in. We then started a new session in PuTTY. After several minutes of waiting for the controller to start up, we logged onto the controller using admin as the username and admin1 as the password. We then had to verify to see if the controller had the right code version for us to implement in our WLAN. After using the command write erase all, which deleted the databases and configurations, we reloaded the controller for us to continue forward. So moving on to lab section 1.3, we reset the access points to factory settings as well, allowing us to not have any previous interfaces going into the project. To do this, we access the AP's console port and utilize the commands purge and reboot. So moving on to Lab 2.1, this is the initial script for setting up the controller using PuTTY. Following those prompts and those commands, we set the controller to the parameters we needed for this lab. To match the L2/L3 switch, we needed to configure VLAN 20's IP address so that they all belong to the same network. Lastly, for 2.1, we added the licenses provided to us from Table 2 to connect the access point to power. Lab 2.2, we configured the controller setup by using the controller wizard. Since this was our first time doing this, we connected our laptop through the Ethernet port to the controller and used a web browser to navigate to 10.1.20.100. This was the IP address used to get us to the Aruba's login page. So once we logged on, we realized that the basic information for the controller was already available to us since we had already configured it in PuTTY. We selected standalone mode for our controller as it was an independent process and continued. Here we set up the VLAN for our WLAN, the girls, and provided it with an IP address of 10.1.21.2. After making sure the controller's IP address was set to 10.1.20.100 and the default gateway was set to 10.1.20.1, we moved on to configuring a trunk port. We set port 1/0 as the trunk port with its native VLAN being 20 and its accessing VLANs 20 and 21. This allowed traffic from both of those VLANs to go through. For Lab 2.4, we checked the state of our VLANs to see if they were up or down. We used the command show interface brief to show that some of them were down and not assigned a port value such as access or trunk. We used the following commands to correct this. We first started in the configuration terminal and issued the command interface VLAN x0. We then issued the command oper state up. We did this for VLAN 20, 21, and 23 so that they all could be up. We realized that the controller by default was VLAN 1, and since we weren't using VLAN 1 and only needed VLANs 20, 21, and 23, we disabled it. We also disabled the control plane security because it was blocking the AP from joining the controller. So finally for Lab 3, we had to set up the wireless network's SSID. SSIDs act as passwords when a device tries to connect to a WLAN. To begin, we navigated to Configuration, Wizards, WLAN/LAN Wizard. We selected Campus Only since the APs we were working with were directly connected to the local controller, and then clicked Begin. Then, by clicking the New button, we were able to add our microcontroller and then clicked OK to continue. On the new page, we specified our microcontroller, Master Controller 2, our WLAN, the girls, and then continue to select the following modes. On the Authenticated and Encryption page, we selected Strong Encryption but without link layer authentication. This allowed all users to share the same encryption key but still enabled us to enter a passphrase for Wi-Fi access. Then, under the Specify Roles and Policies, we selected the role Authenticated and clicked on the policy Allow All. After this, our WLAN SSID configuration was complete. For Lab 3.2, we checked our configurations under Configuration, Wireless, AP Configuration from the GUI, and made sure that our virtual AP and SSID profile had been updated correctly. Finally, for Lab 3.3, we made sure our connection to the access point was up. Under the Monitoring tab, we rebooted the system and made sure that it went from 0 to 1. No SSIDs were found, but we corrected this in Lab 4. Finally, moving on to Lab 4, we had to provision or arrange the AP to support our WLAN the girls. Under Configuration, Wireless, AP Installation, we selected our AP and clicked on Provision. Under Provision, we set up the AP to obtain IP address using DHCP. We rebooted the AP and found that our SSID was being broadcast under the Monitoring tab. This allowed us to access our Wi-Fi network in our laptop and phones. Our group was now able to continuously ping our default gateway 10.1.21.1 under the command prompt. Finally, in 4.3, we cleaned up our AP setting via Wizard. Under Configuration, Wizards, AP Wizard, we selected the LAN for campus-only configurations. Next, APs in a particular AP group and then selected our master controller too. On the next pages, we chose automatic discovery method, changed the name of our AP, and specified our AP group to be a per AP basis. After saving our configuration, our AP rebooted and checked under Monitoring Controller, AP, and found that our AP had its new name. We were able to successfully connect to our WLAN network, the girls, which basically wrapped up our whole project. I hope you enjoyed my presentation and found that it was helpful in some way. This is Alexis signing out. Thank you.